think I can safely say that I'm a naturalist. Not that I'm convinced that there is nothing beyond our current knowledge, perhaps things we can't even imagine. But I don't think it's logical to assume those things are part of some different brand of reality. Let me explain. First, we must establish the definition of natural. We can say that everything within the natural world is natural, and that the natural world is the sum of all objectively observable objects and phenomena. Some philosophers will state that there's no such thing as objectively observable reality. We'll let that rest for a moment and just postulate that there is. We can extend this definition by saying that everything in the natural world behaves according to certain patterns, which we call the laws of nature. This is not necessary for the exact definition, but it is something everyone agrees on, and it's part of the definition that most people use when they talk about the natural world. Well, we start with the natural world, which obeys the laws of nature, and we'll see if there's any room for anything supernatural. Now, the supernatural is by definition not part of objectively observable reality, and it is not governed by any law. If it was, it would just be natural. In other words, with the supernatural, anything is possible. We're going to use what is called in mathematics proof by contradiction, which means we're going to assume that there is something supernatural in our natural world and see if this leads to any contradictions. Of course, the first problem we immediately run into is that our supernatural phenomenon can't have any effect on or interaction with anything natural. If that was the case, it would be observable by everyone, and the supernatural phenomenon could no longer be considered supernatural. This renders it totally undetectable, and that's basically the same as non-existent. Ignoring that, the second problem would be with its tendency to ignore the laws of nature. If there was something out there with which anything was possible, since it isn't governed by any laws, and which at the same time had any, no matter how small, effect on the natural world, then the laws of nature would no longer be absolute. If anything were possible, everything would be uncertain, since there would be no way to tell what is going to happen in a certain situation. The implications of this are huge. For example, if something supernatural existed, it really would be possible that it created all the fossil evidence for evolution, even if evolution never actually happened. It could all be just an illusion. The same goes for every observation you make of the natural world. It could be that it could make gravity disappear, while time and space still exist. Hey, anything is possible, remember? In the end, you really couldn't be sure of anything anymore. Not even about your own observations of the supernatural phenomenon. And that too might not even exist. And there we encounter a tricky paradox. The supernatural phenomenon either has certain traits to recognize and observe it, and these would be governed by certain laws to determine the traits, which would make it just a natural phenomenon. Or it has no traits. Anything would be possible, but there's no way to be certain of anything, not even of the existence of the very phenomenon that created this paradox. This of course goes also for the absence of an objectively observable reality. So, there you have it. The reason I'm a naturalist.
Baby, here I come again.